You ever look at a price tag and just wonder, how in the world did they come up with that exact number? Well, I can tell you it's not random, not at all. In fact, every price tag tells a story, and it's a story written in the language of math. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see how it all works. So really, what's hiding behind that price? We're going to follow the journey of one product's price tag, all the way from the factory floor right up to the moment you swipe your card. Let's dive in. Okay, so our story begins with something called the supply chain. Think of it like a product's road trip to get to you. It starts with the manufacturer, then maybe a wholesaler, then the store. And here's the kicker. At every single stop along the way, the price tag gets a little bit bigger. All right, let's kick off the first part of this journey. This is where the product leaves the factory and starts heading to the store. And this is where the first piece of the pricing puzzle, one you probably never even see, gets put into place. So it all starts with what's called the MSRP. You've probably heard of it, the manufacturer's suggested retail price. It's basically the sticker price. But here's secret number one. The store you're buying from, yet they almost never pay that full price. Their whole process starts with them getting a discount first. And that discount brings us to this really key idea in the business world. There's a price before the price. It's all about the deals and relationships that happen inside that supply chain, long before you ever see the item. This first price cut has a name. It's called a trade discount. And you gotta remember, this isn't a sale for you and me. Nope. This is a special deal just between businesses. It's how they figure out the wholesale cost of something before it even thinks about hitting a store shelf. And here's where it gets interesting. It's usually not just one single discount. A store might get a whole series of them. You know, like one discount for being a longtime customer, another one for buying a huge amount at once, and maybe even a third for ordering their summer stock way back in winter. Okay, so this is where a lot of people get tripped up on the math. You see 20%, 10%, and 5%, and you think, easy, that's a 35% discount, right? Wrong. Big misconception. In reality, you have to apply those discounts one at a time, sequentially. Let's actually walk through it. Say an item has a list price of $150. First, you take off that 20%. Boom, now it's $120. Then you take 10% off of the new price, the $120, which gets you to $108. And finally, you take the last 5% off of that number, which brings the final net price for the store down to $102.60. See how that works? It's a cascade. All right, so the store got a good deal. They paid $102.60 for the item. Now it's their turn. They have to decide what price to put on the tag for you and me, and this step is called the markup. When a store sets a price, they're not just picking a number out of thin air. That final price you see is actually built from three key pieces. It has to cover what they paid for the item, that's the cost. It also has to cover all their other bills, rent, employee salaries, those are the expenses. And of course, they need to make some money, which is the profit. It all boils down to a really simple formula. You start with the cost, C, which is what the store paid for the thing. Then you add the markup, M. Now, the markup is just one number that covers both their expenses and their desired profit. And what do you get when you add them together? The selling price, S. S equals C plus M. That's it. That's the heart of how retail pricing works. So, the product is finally on the shelf, price tag and all. But the story's not quite over, because that price, it's not always final. It can still change, both for us, the shoppers, and for the businesses themselves. When a store decides to drop that regular selling price for a little while, the official business term for that is a markdown. But what do we call it? A sale. It's that simple. It's just one more bit of math designed to get us excited and ready to buy. And while we get excited about sales, a similar thing happens behind the scenes between the businesses. Manufacturers will offer stores another kind of discount, but this one's for a totally different reason. It's all about getting paid fast. You might see something like 210 and 30 on an invoice, and yeah, it looks like some kind of secret code, but it's actually a pretty simple deal. It just means, hey, if you pay this bill in 10 days, you can take an extra 2% off. If not, no big deal, just pay the full amount within 30 days. It's a really smart little trick to keep the cash moving. Okay, so far, we've been talking like we just walk in and pay the full price right then and there. But what about the really big stuff? A car, a fancy new fridge. When the price is just too high to pay all at once, a totally different kind of math takes over. The math of paying things off over time. I mean, it's a question pretty much all of us run into, right? How are you supposed to afford something that costs thousands of dollars? Well, the answer is you don't pay it all at once. You pay it off in little pieces over time. And there is a specific mathematical tool that makes all of that possible. And that tool is called an annuity. I know, it sounds a little financial and complicated, but the idea is super simple. An annuity is just a series of equal payments that you make at regular times. That's it. And let me tell you, this is the secret engine behind pretty much every loan or payment plan you can think of. Oh, and you have absolutely used annuities, probably without even realizing it. A mortgage on a house? That's an annuity. A car loan? Annuity. Student loan payments? Yep, another annuity. Even saving for retirement is a type of annuity. It's literally the math that helps us pay for our lives. Now look, annuities can get really complicated, as you can see here. But for what we're talking about, the biggest difference boils down to one simple question. When is the payment made? If you make your payment at the end of the period, think of a typical loan payment, that's called an ordinary annuity. But if you pay at the beginning of the period, like paying your rent on the first of the month, that's called an annuity due. Okay, let's take a step back and look at the whole picture. We followed the math of a price tag from the very beginning all the way to the end, which sometimes takes years and years to pay off. So here it is, the whole journey from start to finish. First, the manufacturer gives a trade discount to the store. Then, the store adds its markup to set the price you see. Later, that price might get a markdown for a sale. And finally, you, the customer, might use an annuity, like a loan, to pay for it all. Every single step involves its own little bit of math, and it all comes together to create that one number on the tag. So you see, from those secret business-to-business discounts to the carefully calculated markups, that number on a price tag is never just a number. It's the final answer to a long math problem. So the next time you see a big sign that says 50% off, you can smile and ask yourself, 50% off of what number exactly? Because now you know the secret math behind it all.